Hello and welcome to another episode of The Weekend with Candor Beach. Today we were thinking of doing something slightly different. We are still going to talk about the topics that caught our eye, but today we are going to focus on how they might likely impact the economic market around the world. So starting with the US job market. Economists estimated about 180,000 jobs to be added in January, but we saw 353,000 instead. Last year, this time, we saw a similar rise, like an outsized growth, which could indicate seasonal hiring. But
Mm.
if we are considering a stunning growth, as Financial Times put it, in jobs in the US, that is likely going to put in more money in the hands of the people. Average wage has grown as well by about 4.5% over the last 12 months. So you are talking about more money in circulation. We are talking about Powell did mention, right, that there are going to be no rate cuts in March for sure, and this jobs growth these jobs numbers have assured us that it is very very unlikely that there's going to be a rate cut in March
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be more money circulating in the economy with more people employed. There's going to be more spending. So if you look at this information in isolation, up until say April, May, we are unlikely to see a rate hike. Inflation might stay the same or increase slightly because again, more money in the environment. And with increasing inflation, the stock market should likely go up a little bit, right? Because this positively impacts revenue, even if it negatively impacts costs. Um, what are your thoughts, economy wise?
Yeah, the since the inflation's going to be up, you're right. The market will be on an upward trajectory. So maybe with like minor pullbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with regards to that, the market will be like that. And another thing is, Democrats are actively trying to let illegal aliens work. Get like let them get
Work
working
permits?
work permits in their states, in the blue states. So that is also might change a little bit of the hiring strategy and the job numbers. So it is a little different, but it is what it is, man. They're giving more priority to illegal aliens than American citizens.
And I'm not saying this as a. Like,
Hmm.
again, I have no horse in the race. But what I'm getting
Yeah.
at is like allowing illegal immigrants to work does not equal sacrificing American jobs necessarily. Like if there are 500 jobs and there are 100 Americans, might as well fill up the rest with whatever labor you have. We don't know, is
Yes.
what I'm
And
getting at.
since you said that, I think this will continue on the second topic too when we talk about
Yeah.
they are like they're trying to actively recruit illegal aliens into the military. So because then Americans are not participating in their military. Like American military fell short of hiring for this year very badly. So who's going to come to rescue? Illegal aliens.
Fascinating. So, again, just to
Yeah.
conclude what we've discussed so far, we're talking about more money in the economy, courtesy more jobs, um, like more jobs filled. So, more money, meaning there is potential for inflation to go up a little bit, which assures us that there will be no foreseeable rate cuts, at least up until May. Um, So yeah, the stock market. This is something that's going to boost the stock market, in my opinion. Like at least to a certain
Yeah.
extent, unless it's already priced
Hmm.
in, which is beyond my ken, but is quite likely to have already happened. Now, something that could pull things down is the fact that the U.S. is looking at retaliatory strikes against Iran.
It already did it. It's not looking at. It already did
a
85 strikes,
series
right?
of a series of
Yeah.
retaliatory strikes. They've already started
Yeah.
with one. They had B-1 bombers fly in from the US all the way to the Middle East and bomb what 85 targets.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All
Like
that for carbon neutrality, right? Flying all the way, translate.
carbon
Oh,
neutrality is
trans.
for the likes of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It's not for the US. It's not
No,
for the
no.
first world.
You know what's so funny, right? So Trump actually brought this up. There was this meeting with Trump was talking to his generals, and one of the generals like, "Yeah, we're introducing electric tanks, fully electric tanks." He goes like, "Yeah, we're bombing, we're bombing everywhere, but then yeah, our tanks are environmentally friendly."
You know how, like, when people are buying electric vehicles, their first thought is that they have that range anxiety. Will I be able to get from point
Yeah,
A to point B without having to refuel? Imagine tanks going across and being like, "Uh oh,
yeah.
ran out of juice."
They imagine they got to go from Baghdad all the way to Tehran. They have to charge it like every 10, like every 100 kilometers.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that's
I don't know what they're thinking. So all right, so we've got growth in jobs which could boost the market. We've got potential war in the offing. Like you already have Ukraine, Russia. We talked about this
mm,
a bunch of times.
Ukraine,
Ukraine,
Russia,
Russia,
Israel, Gaza.
Palestine.
Then you
Yeah.
have like you have then now this is starting up. Syria is going to be huge. All these this is the battlefield, right? Syria is the battlefield. It's been a battlefield. Now it's again starting up to be a battlefield.
Yeah. Kind of sucks
Yeah.
for.
So on top of that, what is something in our neighborhood which is happening is U.S. approved MQ-9 Reaper drones for India,
Oh.
which is yeah. So I mean, it was this deal was going. It's been mulling for a while now. Finally, the State Department agreed, and now it's going to go to the Congress for an approval, which is going to go through. And see, the one thing about these drones are like they can travel at 30,000 feet altitude,
Uh
and
huh.
just and they're equipped with Hellfire missiles. So Hellfire missiles are very, very, very powerful because they have GPS tracking and they are very accurate to the pinpoint.
Oh, you mean the bombs have
Yeah,
GPS
the
tracking?
bombs which are equipped on the Reaper drones.
All right,
They're called Hellfire missiles.
I was picturing like an Uber app of sorts. Oh, that's where my bomber is.
Yeah,
All right,
so
understood. Um, we also had the interim budget from India. Like from India, like we are Indians.
mhm,
Our interim budget. Like we have an
mhm,
election year, and during election years, the full budget doesn't come out until June. You have an
mhm,
interim budget in February. What we saw was that we continued to support the Maldives despite the recent uh, not conflagrations, but the mood hasn't been the best between Maldives and India. But India is still supporting Maldives. I don't necessarily think it's out of the goodness of our heart because it is strategically significant at the end of the day, right? Like they're close to India, and
yeah.
it was the same deal with Sri Lanka when they allowed for China to buy up their port, because now
Mhm,
you have China controlling that. China's already shown its hand in Africa, where they bought out mines. I forget what mines, but were they lithium mines?
yeah, the lithium was in South America. I think it was
No,
cobalt
this was
mines.
way back. Maybe like this was way back,
Yeah.
like 10 years ago or so. They've been buying
Mm.
debt of African countries as well, just to get a foothold in those countries. So what I'm getting at is we still have this fractious conversation of sorts or relationship of sorts with China, even though we are a part of the BRICS uh, group of nations. We still there is still this thing up in the air. India is a part of BRICS. India is a part of the Quad, but
Mhm.
and so to an extent, India has a certain degree of neutrality in the world. Even with the Ukraine Russia conversation, India didn't pick sides, and so there is this neutrality. But then China is flexing its muscle. Hong Kong like there was I think the Sports Authority of Hong Kong or somebody, something related to Hong Kong. They didn't put up the Chinese flag, even though they're sort of like a federation of China, and so they weren't allowed to participate in some sports truck. Similarly,
Yeah.
you have conversations about China's aggression in the South China Sea. All those countries there worried that they are not going to be able to operate in their own waters. Yeah.
So what I was wanted to know is like, see, you mentioned the budget, right?
Hmm.
So we have a capex expenditure of 11 lakh crores,
For this
scheduled
year. Yeah.
for this financial year. So I want you to see if you can say something about how much of this capex is going to affect the military sector or the defense sector of India, because there is a massive push to go, building in the country. So certain parts, they had that order of helicopters and Tejas airplanes, right? So what is your perspective on the market with regards to the capex expenditure?
Right, fantastic. I was just going to say that the point of all our conversation is to understand the potential conflagrations that might erupt around the world, and that was why we were just talking about China and Maldives and allocations and such. Like Taiwan, China could still happen. Um,
Mm,
India has been, because there has been certain Chinese aggression in the northeast. India has been looking at shoring up the border there, basically creating better access to the border, wider roads,
yeah.
housing that's closer to the borders, because China's been doing the same thing from their side through
Hmm.
Tibet.
Yeah.
So
Border infrastructure.
yeah, so India it has been looking at investing in logistics and border infrastructure overall. There was this conversation that our foreign minister had where he said that there was, like, in 2014, there was this joke of sorts, like the easiest way of keeping China away from your borders is by keeping them open and unguarded, because there was this whole Chindia conversation, and we don't need to
Yeah.
get into
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah. I
think,
remember that.
yeah, I think it's a significant amount. If I don't remember the exact numbers, you said 11 lakh crores, right? But off of that, how much of that is going to go into building logistics and, well, uh, e- empowering our borders? I don't know. I don't know.
So I would get I want to say something about it, because
Yeah.
if you look at it, the national highway or the freeways now which is being constructed are at an international, um, they are able to, like the international standards. Why I say this, because in America, Germany, all these countries, right? So these freeways can take the entire load of tanks or these big airplanes. Like, you remember when
Yeah.
Prime Minister Modi landed that cargo plane on that on the freeway last year. It's just not just a show. It's not something to show. This is to say that this is the new roads are have the capacity. If, like, God forbid, if India gets into war, we have the capacity to move, or move tanks around the country anywhere at a breakneck speed. That's what it is being
So,
done.
could you
So
shoot straight to like, with the focus on the markets? Like, what would war do to our markets, and what is this infrastructure going to do to our markets, in your opinion?
So yeah, so the war, I would say the capex expenditure is very good for the building of
Yeah.
freeways. Like, I think all from north to south there is this huge push of building freeways across the country, and and then there is this corridors which are being built, like the dedicated freight corridors, which are very, very useful. So I would say the market will be positively affected post election, because we already know, most of the people know that BJP is going to retain power. Um, it's already even the opposition agrees
I mean,
that they will
they've
retain power.
imploded,
Yeah.
right? They imploded with
So
Nitish Kumar's thing as well.
yeah.
Fair.
So yeah,
Although
market will
in
go up.
Bombay,
Yeah.
in Bombay, there was this shooting incident. Like a BJP MLA apparently shot
Mm.
Shinde something. If I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
So moving on, let's talk a little bit about the other minor topics
For sure, but
we have.
just one bit. Like what you didn't cover
Mhm.
was what happens if war breaks out, though. Like you talked about it
Oh
being
yeah.
a boost,
So
but
if war does break out, there
mm-hmm.
will be the market will be impacted regardless. There will be
How?
a crash in the market. The
There we go.
market will crash.
Yeah.
So I mean, any war will crash the market, but India's
And
market,
why?
I feel, is very resilient to come back if does war break out.
So here's a quick, like, a reason behind why the markets are impacted. Like, even when Ukraine, Russia occurred in February, like 2 years ago now, the market dipped promptly because we are talking about a disruption in supply chain, for one, because.
Hmm.
And I understand that globalization is contracting, and we're seeing friend shoring and near shoring and such. Um but it does impact supply chains. And secondly, when your country goes into war, you are deploying significant resources. You're taking away resources from, say, healthcare, manufacturing, and whatever,
Yeah.
and putting that money into infrastructure for military. You are also conscripting people. So there's a shift in human
The
resources.
labor shortage.
Absolutely. So these are
Yeah.
factors that are going to impact your economy. That these are things that you need to keep in mind should your country get into
Go to
war.
war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So on to the minor
So
topics. Fire away, sir.
I think one of the minor topics, I don't know if it's minor. Google Bard is doing the picture thing, right? So what do you call it can now
AI
generate
generated
images.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. So similar to what do you use?
I use stable diffusion.
Stable diffusion.
Automatic
Yeah.
1111 stable diffusion. But you also have Midjourney. Midjourney is an incredibly popular
Mm-hmm.
resource.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a matter of time before ChatGPT does it as well. And like, I have a clear preference at this point in time because I feel like ChatGPT's done a little better. Funnily enough, like ChatGPT's come from Google engineers, right? Like they created OpenAI with the entire move, and whatever. Long story short, Bard is better placed to
Yeah,
win.
Bard is catching up, I would say.
It's better placed to win. Like once they
Yeah.
get there, I think it's only a matter of time before they beat out ChatGPT, unless Microsoft
Yep.
and OpenAI are able to do something drastic. They have to figure out a way to lock down their customer base. Otherwise, like there's no switching cost, right? Like I'm not paying necessarily to use the product.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what else?
we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the finance thing, right? So we should have continued with the. What are your thoughts on the meltdown of Paytm? Like how RBI. So we have a fintech a company called Paytm, which was the pioneer of
One communication.
UPI.
One
Yeah,
97
197.
197
Yeah.
communication,
So
right.
no, just a brief intro for our audience. It's just Paytm is like the Cash App of India. Like you can transfer, like money instantaneously using the technology of UPI.
Digital wallets, UPI. It also serves as a
So
bank of sorts.
Paytm blew up during the demonetization era of India. So when there was a demonetization of the 1,000 and 500 rupee notes, everybody had cash crunch, and people started to adopt digital payment systems like Paytm. So Paytm's rise started I think after the demonetization, and post that it had a lot of issues. So the reason RBI was vigilant on Paytm was because of this KYC issues.
So it
Because
started in 2018
KYC is
itself. It started in
yeah.
2018 itself because there were instances where like Paytm was accused of colluding with China because is
Hmm.
Tencent an investor or Alibaba or who?
Yeah, Alibaba is an
Alibaba,
investor. I think
right? So
yeah, ten
there
percent of
was no. I was
they
talking
own
about
10%.
Tencent. Tencent.
I'm not sure if Tencent owned Paytm.
Fair, whatever. So there was a Chinese
Hmm.
company that, like, there were conversations where this KYC thing that was potentially like the information gathered by KYC, know your customer, that data was potentially being given to China, and so
Hmm.
the RBI said regulations got asked for Paytm to comply, and in 5 6 years, if it started in 2018, we're in 2024 right now, in 5.5 6 years they have not been able to comply. So I think it was only right for the RBI to step in and take punitive action.
Yeah,
So
I think Paytm, like RBI, got frustrated with them. There were a lot of issues too. I'll elaborate a little bit of my issues with Paytm too. Go ahead.
what I was going to get at is like overall, without getting into the weeds with this, overall we've seen the financial sector pull back, correct quite a bit. The entire financial sector towards the end of January corrected. I believe
Hmm.
that they are currently at support or close to support and have been bouncing back over the last several days. HDFC Bank, one of the biggest banks in the world today, um, it was at what 1380. That was the absolute low, and it went up to it's currently at 1460
Yep.
ish. So
Yep.
I believe that it found support around the 1380 1420 mark and is shooting up again. Similarly, you have other banks like or other financial sector stocks like PFC, REC. They're all pushing back up. Bajaj Finance. So I think over the next 3 months or so, it is likely over the next quarter, 4 months, it is likely to succeed. They're likely to recover. By April, I
Yeah.
think we're going to hear good news. Plus, with the BJP coming back in, as you alluded earlier, most likely, like let's not treat it as a foregone conclusion, but like they are unlikely to see opposition. The opposition's already imploded, so it is likely that the market's going to
Fingers
continue
crossed.
its current trajectory.
Mm.
You were going to talk about a grouse
So
with Paytm?
yeah, so I remember when I was traveling by road. I think we were going Chennai. Paytm. I used to have this fast tag which is connected to Paytm, and after I came back, and I was getting these charges on this fast tag where I was not even driving. So, and whenever I tried to report it to Paytm, and they would never care for it. Like there were like multiple charges on it, and I got frustrated. I canceled it, and I moved to another company. But Paytm was so bad at customer service. Like they don't even reply back to you. Like even you can write how many ever times. So like as a customer perspective, that was one of the biggest problems I had. So I see where RBI is coming from. There were a lot of issues with Paytm.
I mean, RBI is looking at regulatory compliance. You're looking at customer
Yeah,
experience. So I
sure.
don't. It's a tenuous connection, but whatever. We can move on.
Yeah,
You wanted to talk about Elon Musk? $55 billion
yeah. So
in compensation rejected. Did
no, I
you
want to
hear
talk
about
about
that?
the Neuralink.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just
but I
thinking about
want to talk
Elon
about
Musk in general.
Neuralink.
Go for it.
No, but the Neuralink, I think it's they achieved their first like they put their the
What is
link,
the
the
Neuralink?
implant.
Like, just a quick. Like,
So
who does it
a
serve?
quick
What is it?
okay, Neuralink is like a connection between it's like an implant put in the head. So it'll connect to a computer, and if you have any problems, like if you're a quadriplegic or if you're blind, it achieves to alleviate these issues. Like if you can get your if you're paralyzed, they can activate these certain neurons to make you walk again, or or connect directly into your optic nerve, and you'll be able to see. It's an ongoing research. I'm not saying it's already achieved it. It has a path of 6 years down the lane, and they achieved their first step of implanting the N1 implant with a robot called R1, which is implanting in the brain. So what is a little different about the Neuralink and other competitors? Like, there is another company called BlackRock, and BlackRock. What do you call it? I
If you
forgot
could
the
just get to
company
it,
name.
please.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just get to it.
So BlackRock Neurotech and Synergen. So there are these two companies which they implant outside the brain, but this is inside the brain
It's an
directly onto the
invasive
neuron.
procedure.
Yeah, it's pretty invasive. So it has a long way to go, but it's a first step achievement.
Cool. All right, so
Yeah.
that was quite interesting. We were talking about Bard AI generating images. We were talking about the Neuralink, and we made quite a circuitous conversation about PTM and the financial sector.
Yeah.
I think we're good. That's quite a solid half hour of information. So do you want to leave anything? Do you want to leave our viewers with anything? Any thoughts for until next time?
So I would ask you if what is, I would say something to do with the Neuralink thing. Do you think this is going to reduce the dependency on the pharmaceutical industry? Is something to think about, because if it's going to alleviate all these issues, how well it's going to go with the pharmaceutical industry is something to think about.
And if you think about it, like with the Neuralink and the BART conversation, how is AI going to impact the job market? We've seen such a strong growth in the job market. How is AI going to deal with that over the next year? Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to catch you on the next one.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.